So now the 10 days starting from today, we are going to work with SQL, primarily, basically on these topics, SQL, data structures, and user-defined functions, importing modules, and etc. We are going to concentrate on files, MySQL installation, the software part of it, database connectivity, and database with CSV connectivity, general programs, and finally, we will be looking at the programs that we have to take in record and how to proceed with the project and how do we set up question paper. So now here the first 3 days, 2, 3, and 4, we are going to deal with MySQL today. We are going to deal with MySQL. These are the concepts that we are going to deal in MySQL. And the next 2 days, from tomorrow and day after tomorrow, we will be dealing with stack concept. Now these concepts are very much there in the revised curriculum also. So the CPSE has given their revised curriculum for 2022 to 2023. So now all these topics are very much included in the revised curriculum as well. So the first 3 days topic. So today we will be looking at MySQL's important concepts. Okay. So the objective of the session is going to be candidate keys. We are going to discuss about different keys, primary key, alternate key, foreign key, and Cartesian product, which is otherwise called as cross join, natural join, and equal join. So then we will be also discussing today how the questions will be tested in the board examination under this particular concept and the total weightage of MySQL. So this total weightage is a representation for the current year 2022 board appearing students. So that is in term 2. So now these concepts, whatever we are going to deal now, is going to be covered in the next 3 days. Whatever we are going to deal, these concepts are very much there in term 2 of this year. Okay. So the board examination of computer science will be on June 13th. Now here, the concept MySQL will have the paper pattern is basically will be having 2 marks question. Section A is a 2 mark question. Section B is a 3 mark question. And section C will be a 4 mark question. So the pattern of the question paper of the year 2022 will be having 3 sections, A, B, and C sections. A will be a 2 mark question. B is going to be a 3 mark question. And section C will have 4 marks in it. In this, MySQL, which we are going to discuss today, contributes to 18 marks in the total weightage of the question paper, which is for the out of 35. So the computer science, so most of the teachers here are going to handle the CPSE syllabus for the first time or the second time. So it is for them, I'm telling. The total weightage of the paper is 70 marks paper. This year it is divided into term 1 and term 2. So term 1, 35 marks is given. Term 2 syllabus, 35 marks. Now out of the 35 marks of this year, 18 marks will come from MySQL concept. So MySQL is a concept. So from here, 18 marks will come and it is distributed like this. Theory questions, if you look at, there will be 2 theory questions carrying 2 marks each. And in section A itself, we will be having 1 question, which will be your output type question. And 1 question will be an application question testing on the keys that we are going to see today. That is all about section A. So section A part of the concept is going to have 6 plus 2, 8 marks. So out of 18 marks, 8 marks will be a 2 mark question. And section B, we will be having 6 marks, which is going to be on these 2 patterns. Testing the structure of the table and SQL queries will be 3. And constraints part of it will be tested for another 3 marks. This is the pattern of the question in the board with respect to MySQL. Next is section C, which is only the testing of queries. Some table will be given to us and we will be asked to, children will be asked to write queries, which will be tested for 4 marks. So put together, it comes to 18 marks out of 35. So hope I am making the pattern very clear to all of you. Coming to the installation of MySQL, we must be knowing that it is a free and open source software. And if you are having Windows 7 operating system, MySQL 5.7 can be installed. For Windows 10, MySQL 8.0 will be supported. So if you have Windows 7 operating system, go with 5.7. Now this is a free software. We can easily download from the net. In case of any issues with the installation, you can be in touch with me. Next is, there is one in case, because when we tried installing this MySQL, I faced so many challenges, and that differs from system to system. So in case if we have any problem in MySQL installation directly, we can even go for WAMP package, which can be installed in Windows 7. In this WAMP stands for Windows, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. So in this, we have MySQL embedded as part of this package. So very easily we can go to MySQL, we can start working on it. So that is about the installation. Now we'll move on to the concepts. So as we know that this SQL is going to be a, it is a RDBMS package. So we know about what a DBMS is, what an RDBMS is. So these are the certain areas that generally most of the teachers we tend to miss. So we know about a table, we know what a database is. A database is a collection of tables, we say, isn't it? So, and how do we, what is a relational database management system? In a database, we will be having multiple tables, which will be linked, or they will be having a relationship between them by a primary key and a foreign key setup. So given a table, how do we identify a candidate key? How do we identify which candidate key to act as a primary key? Then what is an alternate key? So these are few terms that we need to be very, very clear with. So we may know this. So as computer science teachers, we would have read through all this. We would have come across all these terms. So candidate key, primary key, alternate key, composite key, foreign key. So these are the things that we are going to discuss now. So basically, what is a key? An attribute of a relation is said to be a key. And what is a relation? A relation is otherwise called as a table. So we generally, as teachers, we will be referring the content of the table in the form of a table. We will be referring the data as a table only. So what is the other name? Children generally don't go through the reader. So what is a table? A table is otherwise a relation. A relation is said to be a table, or a table is said to be a relation. What is a key in that? Every attribute or a column is said to be your key. Okay. Now these keys, there are a lot of keys available in a table. So how do we understand a candidate key, or how do we categorize the columns to be your candidate key? Now, what is a candidate key? Every attribute that can serve as a primary key is said to be your candidate key. Okay. So if you look at this example, I have a table, create table, table name, and I have just created a table as employee number, data type. This is a column name, data type we have given the constraints here. So the constraints are not null constraint, primary key constraint, unique constraint, check constraint, default constraints, and foreign key constraint. Foreign key constraint is not in the syllabus. Okay, it is not to be tested for students, but we do mention about what a foreign key is and how do we set a foreign key that refers to the master table. So that we just gently tell them, we don't test them. We don't test them. Okay. So coming to this candidate key. So here, when you have a table created like this, if you have to create a primary key, we will be mentioning that to be a primary key. So now these are some general errors that we do, and even in the textbook. Now, in most of the parts of, in most states in southern India, we follow Sumita Arora textbook. Am I right? Am I right, teachers?
Yes, ma'am.
I hope the same thing is being followed in your school also.
No, ma'am, we are following Preeti Arora, ma'am.
Okay, Preeti Arora or Sumita Arora, because we don't have NCERT material. So in Sumita Arora, I found this. I don't know about Preeti Arora. Please let me know. Here, the table for a primary key column, generally we do not specify not null. We are not supposed to define not null constraint, but in most textbooks, they are defining not null along with primary key. What I do in my school is I cut mark for this kind of definition, no, this kind of table creation, because primary key itself doesn't allow null values. Am I right? So hope you will agree with me. Primary key column doesn't allow null values. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
So when a column is defined as a primary key, by itself it will not allow null value. Therefore, there is no need for explicitly defining that to be a null, not null constraint. But this is a very common mistake that is found in Sumita Arora. Children tend to follow that. So as teachers, we have to insist them that when you define a primary key, automatically not null is included in it. So therefore, not null constraint should not be given for a primary key. But system will not show any error when the same syntax is typed. When you type the same command in the system, it will MySQL will not show any error. It will not throw any error. But when we are taking the concept to students, we have to ensure that it is taken with complete clarity. So they should know the difference between a primary key constraint and a unique constraint. So this is how, when you are not going to include not null, okay, and when we define only primary key will take care of filtering the not null. It will not allow the column to accept any null value. So when you try entering null value in a primary key column, it will show an error. It will show an error even without not null constraint. So this is how a primary key is different from a unique constraint. This is how a primary key constraint is different from a unique constraint. Unique constraint will allow one null value. But whereas primary key constraint doesn't allow any null value. Okay, so this one thing that we generally tend to miss. So we need to insist on this. It is not that we don't know, but we generally, most of us miss on this area. So this we need to reiterate. So not null, that is why I have I scored it off. It should not be there for a primary key constraint. Okay, but otherwise we'll be able to do. So when you come to a candidate key, usually when you define a table, a candidate key will be defined as whichever columns are defined with unique constraints. Whichever columns of the table are defined with unique constraints are all said to be candidate keys. So if I am going to have a table definition or the structure of the table having few of the columns containing unique constraint, then it is a candidate key. It is eligible to act as a candidate key. Okay, so I have a table, and if the table is having unique constraints for say unique constraints can be given for multiple columns, but primary key can be given only for one column. So whichever column is defined for unique constraint or defined as unique constraint, all those columns comes under candidate key, or they all are eligible to become a candidate key. So in this case, employee number is to be your candidate key. If you look at the definition, employee number is also unique because it is defined as primary key. I have another column, SS number, which is also defined to be unique. So therefore, this is also a candidate key. Coming to employee name, I have not defined unique here. I have not given my unique constraint to this. Therefore, this is not a candidate key. Coming to salary, we have not given unique constraint here. Therefore, this is not a candidate key. Department number also is not a candidate key because it is not having unique constraint. So in this sample table, we have only two candidate keys. So you declare a column as a candidate key by using the keyword unique. So wherever I have unique constraint given, those columns are ultimately to be taken for candidate position. All those are candidate keys. Okay. So what are we trying to do with this? So in such columns, when you try to do an insert operation or an update operation, the operation will result in an error. So which means a candidate key cannot have any repetitions in it. So that is the moral of the story here. That is all. So this is what we need to take it to the students. So a candidate key cannot accept null values. If a column accepts some repetitions, then it is not to be taken for a candidate key. It cannot be taken for a candidate key. So I think I'm clear with candidate key. So candidate key is basically a column that cannot accept any repetitions. So from these candidate keys, we will choose the most appropriate candidate key to act as a primary key position. So to act as a primary key, now in this case, I have though employee number and SS number to act as candidate keys. We have employee number chosen, or we found that this is going to be more appropriate for the primary key position, because it is through the employee ID we will be capturing the, or we will be retrieving the details of the employee. So therefore, employee number is to be a primary key. So out of list of candidate keys, one key will be chosen as a primary key, because a primary key can always be only one. Okay, so I may have n number of candidate keys that doesn't allow any repetitions, but in that only one of the candidate keys can act as a primary key. So the rest of the candidate keys other than the primary key position is said to be an alternate key. Is said to be an alternate key. Okay, so now we have seen a candidate key, primary key, and an alternate key. Now, in some cases, we will not have one attribute to act as a primary key position. So, in that case, by getting the help of another column, say for example, I have product name, product price. Product name, I have multiple repetitions. Product price is also repeated, and I have quantity to be the third column. Now, product name and product price together, individually they may have repetitions, but when I'm going to take the combination of product name and the price, this combination may be unique. So in case if this combination is unique and I don't have any particular column, any one column to act as a primary key, in that case, these two combination combined attributes will serve as a primary key. Now, this is what we call it as composite key. In few cases, we may not have a single column qualifying for a candidate key position. Then we have to select two or more columns to identify the row uniquely. This is what you call it as a composite key. Amit sir, are you telling something? You have any say about it?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay. So say for example, if there is no employee ID column, the name of the person plus date of birth together can serve as a primary key. Therefore, that is said to be a composite key. Okay, so all these things are there in the textbook also. And about primary key, it doesn't allow any null value. There can only be one primary key, but candidate keys can be more than one in a relation. One of the candidate keys only will serve as a primary key. Therefore, a primary key is also a candidate key. Only a candidate key can become a primary key. Now, this I thought of just showing this screenshot to you. So, what I worked out in the system.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
I'm sorry for interrupting. I had
Yes,
one doubt.
Yes, ma'am.
In the above command, they have given a salary numeric, right?
Salary?
Salary numeric 10,2, I think.
Okay.
Is it possible to give us a numeric as a data type?
Yes, ma'am.
We can give no, ma'am.
You can give number. You can give as integer, decimal.
Okay.
So
I'm
kindly
asking
check.
about in the place of float, can we give as numeric?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So now coming to is the screen visible? So this is what I told you about the primary key. I have created a table, create table name, roll number, int of 11, primary key, name, varchar of 20, unique constraint. Now, wherever we have given as a primary key, now I am trying to insert a null value. Do you see this? Insert into table name, values. I have created a table called a student underscore sample with R number to be the primary key. Here I tried inserting null value. It is throwing an error as roll number cannot be null, which means here we have defined the primary key to be just as primary key, not as not null and primary key. So what I try to say here is not null is not at all required for a primary key constraint, but it is given in many textbooks. Even in many question banks and sample papers, CPSC's marking scheme also, in few places I found this. So this is actually not required. So when we go for correction also, we can claim it. So this needs to be followed. So the next one is candidate keys. We have seen the difference between a primary key and a candidate key. A primary key is a minimal super key. So there is one and only primary key in a relation. While in a relation, there can be more than one candidate key. Any attribute of a primary key cannot contain null value. Just now we saw. While in candidate key, an attribute can contain null value. Primary key can be optional to specify in any relation, but without candidate key, you cannot frame a table. So there must be some candidate key in any relation, but a relation need not have a primary key. Only when we want to set up a relational relationship between the tables of the database, we go for a primary key and a foreign key. So otherwise, we don't require when you create a simple table, you don't have to necessarily give a primary key, but candidate key is definitely must. So primary key specifies the important attribute for the relation. So whichever is very, very important for us to uniquely identify a row, we use that column to be a primary key column. Candidate specifies a key which can qualify for the primary key. List of candidate keys in which one will be chosen for the primary key position. So it's confirmed that a primary key is definitely a candidate key, but you cannot say on the other side candidate key, all the candidate keys are eligible. No, all the candidate keys are primary keys. So this is very important. So this is again a very frequently tested area because there is going to be in 2 marks there will be a theory question. So that theory question can be something like this: differences between a primary key and a candidate key. If it is a 2-mark question, we will advise students to write at least 3 points. Usually in school we have to be little strict in handling the students because Amit sir, you must be knowing you are handling students for quite a long time, I think. Am I right, sir? It becomes very difficult for us to bring the students to focus on computer science, especially because their prime focus will be on physics, maths, and chemistry, MPC only. So as 12th teachers, 11 and 12 teachers, we will definitely find this to be our biggest challenge to bring their focus to computer science. So how do we bring our students to our subject? So even here in city schools, I don't. So this is a case with almost all the schools, but in city schools it will be even more challenging for us. Why? Children will be they will have greater aspirations. There are a lot of IIT centers. 75% or 80% of the students will be going to IIT classes. So obviously they are focused on computer science, or they will be giving the least priority to computer science. So we need to bring their attention to the subject. So what can be done from our side? We have to make the paper little strong. So when we are going to set a standard paper with greatest challenge, or with a good challenging paper, automatically when they take up their exam, they will understand that this subject also has got so much things to learn. So we need to just create that kind of feeling in children's mind. Only then they will come to our paper. Otherwise, it's just not like board questions, training them and sending them. Very easily they'll be able to score good marks. So we can give them the correct notes, tell them to just memorize, give them the practice. That becomes our training. So through training also, we will be able to make them fetch, say, very easily 80 to 85%. Very easily. The last 15 marks or 20 marks, they have to necessarily understand the concept. So even with the experience of C++, the school's paper used to be very, very tough. So when children are going for facing the board exam, they will find that those papers are easier because all kind of concepts and challenges they have gone through during their 2 years of their course in 11 and 12. So that is very important as teachers that we need to keep in mind to set a very standard paper. It's through that only and insisting to do the practical programs, to do the record programs and the project very, very sincerely. And this is not going to help alone for the board exam. Also, when they go, because most of them, they land up in taking computer science as their mainstream. So when they go to college, definitely they will be so grateful to all of us. When we are going, the kind of training that we are going to give in these 2 years, definitely just believe me, it is my experience in these 16 to 17 years. Children have come back to me stating that, ma'am, it is the coaching that is given in the school that has enabled me to clear several rounds of interviews in my placement set after 4 years. During the 4th year, they will be having campus recruitments here. So they had come back to me and they told me about even a couple of weeks back also, I had one student who is now in the 3rd year of her graduation. She told me, I appeared for Zoho interview and that too it is for an internship, not even for the placement. And she had to go through 7 rounds of interview to get selected in that internship. So what has helped her is only the kind of knowledge that we give during the course of 11 and 12. So we teachers will definitely be very, very facing the highest challenge to bring the attention of the students into our subject. Somehow we have to make it. That is possible only with the quality of the teaching that we give and how friendly we present the concept to the students, because their subject loads on MPC is going to be very, very high. Very high. So we have to present the subject in a very nice manner, at the same time with a feeling that this subject has got more things to learn and practice. Nothing to memorize as such, but there are a lot of things that they need to repeatedly practice. So the habit of practicing should be brought during our teaching phase. So we need to keep insisting them to practice a lot on all the concepts. When they are learning about primary key, tell them about, you just give a try and see without not null, try only primary key and try giving not null. See how the textbook concept differs. They have given us not null and the primary key, but we have given only primary key. The software is taking it. And when you give null value, so that way you tell the students, because in most textbooks, it is having lot of errors. The materials that we have, whether Preeti Arora or Sumita Arora, are having lot of errors. And whenever we refer to any sample materials, sample question papers, their marking schemes, they all are having some amount of errors. With respect to stats, I'm telling you, with respect to SQL, and files. These 3 concepts, you cannot blindly follow the material. So whatever is working in the system, we will go with that. So when we go for the correction, and in marking scheme also, if we find some error, we used to argue with the head examiner. Ma'am, this is working in this particular version of MySQL. As one teacher now said, numeric will work or not. It again depends on version. Please try in your version. Let's try. It is working in this version, it is not working in another version. Such kind of conflicts, the board also will award marks. Usually, board will not test on such conflicting areas. Whichever is standard usage across the different versions, though that kind of concept only will be tested, usually in the board exam. Okay, so we have to insist students for repeated practicing in the system. So system practice is definitely must. And in few cases, some children may not have system. I too agree. In that case, the school, you have to plan. Let us plan with student, and if we can give the school system for let them extend for some hours in the school, they can practice and go. And with respect to Python, there is one Pydroid software app that is available to work with mobile phone itself. So with that, they'll be able to manage your 11th standard programs. But 12th standard program, being big programs with respect to files, database connectivity, it is difficult. They cannot use that Pydroid software. So when they have chosen computer science to be their stream, we can gently tell them to go for better to have a system for them to have an utmost benefit of the learning of the subject. So this we have to insist our students, because they also have to do the project. So we have seen about the alternate key. Coming to the foreign key, a foreign key is a collection of fields in one table that refers to the primary key of the other table. So of course about foreign key we will be knowing. So we generally go wrong in the syntaxes. So now this syntaxes children also going wrong. So we have to tell them the syntax of defining a foreign key, though may not be tested in the board. It cannot be ignored. It will be tested as part of Viva. It will be tested, maybe it will be tested in the theory question also. So foreign key of table name, which refers to the master table, a particular column. Now this column is going, definitely this will be a primary key of this particular table persons. So this is the syntax for defining a foreign key as a table level constraint. Now in this case, this example shows table level constraint. We have defined all the columns. Constraints can be given in two forms, table level constraint and column level constraint. Now here, after defining the whole table, all the columns are now defined. After defining all the columns, when we are defining the constraint for a particular column, then it is to be a table level constraint. If I am going to have the constraint defined here as primary key, this becomes my column level constraint. So if the constraint comes immediately after the column, then it is to be a column level constraint. If I am going to define the constraint after all the column definition, then it is to be a table level constraint. Now this is a table level constraint. What we have in this syntax is a table level constraint. Okay. So now here, this shows table level. This is an illustration for table level constraint. So I believe that up to this keys, candidate keys, primary key, composite key, alternate key, all these things are any doubts up to this point? Or should I revisit anything? Teachers? Should I revisit?
Ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Regarding the candidate key, ma'am, you are given that unique, ma'am. Unique means we can easily identify, but some question paper they are not giving a unique, ma'am.
Exactly, I agree. That is always a confusion in the board. I agree with you. So we will be discussing a sample question here. I have just included that in my assignment. I'll just open it to you.
Okay, ma'am.
I totally agree with you. So this I was expecting from one of you actually.
Okay.
Okay, now if you look at this table, say I have a table here. In this case, in this sample table, we have mobile ID to be the candidate key. Mobile company, can this be a candidate key? No, because I have Nokia getting repeated, Realme getting repeated. So very obviously it is shown that mobile company cannot be a candidate key. Mobile name, can this be a candidate key? It is not repeated, therefore I can take this as a candidate key. Coming to price, this is unique. Manufacturing date is also, no, manufacturing date I don't have, I have repetitions. So here mobile ID, mobile name and mobile price are all having unique values. In this, since the table structure is not given to us, the table's data only is given. We are supposed to identify the candidate key from the table's data. So in the table's data, mobile ID, mobile name and mobile price are all having unique values. So therefore, but M price can take some repetitions in it in future. So therefore, mobile ID and mobile name are the candidate keys in this particular table. Though M price is not having repetitions, in future, it may have repeated values. As the structure of the database is, the structure of the table is not given, we have to instruct students to give an explanation to this, like M price in future may have repetitions in it. Therefore, MID and M name will serve as candidate key in this particular table. That way, we have to instruct students to give an explanation. Because out of the 16 years of my correction experience, in 1 year, what happened? Usually, they used to go with the sample data. Sample data says MID, M name, and M price are unique. So therefore, all the three can be taken as a candidate key. In one of those years, probably in the last 5 years only, they clearly mentioned in the marking scheme that M price, which can have in it in future some repetitions, it should not be included for the candidate key position. So therefore, MID and MNAME only can serve as a candidate key. So this is how we need to instruct students to go with the tables data. So when it comes to the board exam, tell them to look at the tables data and let them also have a logical thinking. And in most cases, paper is going to be very, very clear. Otherwise, let them go for the, that logical thinking they should have in future. Will it allow any repetitions? Tell them to just, assess it. Depending on that, they can declare whether it can be taken as a candidate key or not. Okay, so in this case, M price, though it is not repeated, but still in future it may have repetitions. There is a chance for it having repetitions. Therefore, MID and MNAME alone will be your candidate key in this particular table. So let them write with complete explanation. So usually what happens, average papers will be overlooked. But when it comes to the 65 and above out of 70, those papers will be scrutinized like this. Whether the child knows the complete concept or not, whether he has understood the complete concept or not. So that will be checked. And the centum paper will be rolled in different hands. We will be looking at most of the centum papers. All the centum papers will be checked by most of us in the hall. And we will be trying to spot some errors and reduce the marks so that the number of centums will always be reduced. So many times it has happened like that. And a centum paper should be an error-free paper. So in such cases, these explanations will help them to score marks. Yes, sir. Anything else? So shall we move on to the next one?
Ma'am, one more
Yes, sir.
key, the composite you explained, ma'am. Super key something is there, ma'am.
Super
Any
key is
super-
not there, sir. Super key is not in the syllabus.
Okay, okay,
We can leave it. That may not be mentioned to students also.
okay.
Anything else, sir? I will be sharing this document to you in the group. So then another important concept that generally students will miss is joints, and there is definite question on joints. And in this year also we have 3 types of joint only: Cartesian product, which is otherwise called as cross joint, natural joint, and equi-joint. Only 3 joints are there in the syllabus. So we will be only focusing on these 3 joints. Other joints there are other joints like inner joint, outer joint, right joint, left joint. So many concepts are there. Anyway, those things are not in the syllabus. What we have in the syllabus is only 3 things: natural joint, equi-joint, and we generally term the third joint to be a Cartesian product, which is otherwise called as cross joint. Okay, so now here coming to Cartesian product. The Cartesian product can be, if you just look at this, I have a table A and table B. Okay, so table A, I have 3 rows. Table B, I have 3 rows. Say now I have, say, 1, 2, 3, and A, B, C. So 1 column and 3 rows, 1 column and 3 rows. So how do we get the output in Cartesian product? The first row of the table will be pairing with every other row of the second table. The second row of the table will be pairing with every other row of the second table. The third row of the first table will be pairing with every other row of the second table. So how now this is the mathematical operation of the Cartesian product, which is otherwise called as cross joint. How do we represent it in SQL? In my SQL, we will be representing it as select columns from table 1, cross join table 2 is one syntax, which is an unusual way of doing. We will not be using this kind of syntax. The general usage of the syntax is going to be like this. Select star from table 1, comma, table 2. This is the frequently used representation of this cross join. Select columns from table 1, comma, table 2. So here we are not going to give any condition. This is my cross join. Okay. The other way is we will be explicitly using the term cross join. In most of the sample papers, CBSE sample papers, we have only this this command only. This command only we use. Though this is correct, in most cases, what happens when we go for evaluation, teachers are also mentally tuned to one kind of syntax, one pattern of syntax. And usually it happened in C++. When that pattern is not followed, when child uses a different pattern to do the same process, if the teacher doesn't know that concept, the child will be losing the mark in that particular concept. It has happened many times. So we will always be training students for the best method and most commonly used method. So the most commonly used method will be select column list from table 1, table 2. Supposing if since this is also in the syllabus and all over India, it is not the NCERT syllabus or the material that we follow, we also expose them on this particular syntax. So sometimes in the question paper, in the output questions, if they test as select column list from table 1 cross join table 2, children should not think that it is out of portion. So we just have to repeatedly test them once or twice. We will not frequently test them on this kind of syntax, but say if we are conducting some 3 exams on that particular concept, so let us give this also as one of the query. So they will also be in touch with this particular syntax. So let us expose them on this particular syntax also. So select star from table 1, table 2 is a normal syntax for Cartesian product. Otherwise, they can use cross join table 1 cross join table 2. So there is no condition here. So now in this case, if I am going to have a table like that, say now here, the table structure is, you have 2 tables. Table A is having 100, 101, 102. Table 2 is having 101, 103, 105. So now in this case, what happens? This 100, if you look at this table A's first row is pairing with every other row of the second table. Do you see this point? Table 1's first row is pairing with all the rows of the second table. Therefore, you get 100, which is equal to 100, desk 11, desk 12 with 101, desk 41 and desk 42. That way, the first row of the first table, which is highlighted in blue color, is pairing with every row of the second table, which is in white color. Now here, there will be one query. Very frequently we miss on this also. If you look at this, I have this ID column. Now the first column is the ID column. Okay. The second column is a description column 1, description 2. This is from the first table. If you look at this, this is from the first table. Now I have this to be my second table. Now this whole thing like ID, description 3 and description 4 is my second table's data. If you look at these 2 tables, I have the same column ID repeated in both the tables. What happens if both the columns, now we are trying to cross join multiple tables. If those tables are having the same column, what will happen to those columns? Will they appear or they don't appear? They will definitely appear in Cartesian product. So this is again one missing area. So therefore, when we have the same column getting repeated in multiple tables, this is just a Cartesian product that is happening. So therefore, it doesn't ignore the common column. It includes the common column. It includes a common column. So it is just our normal mathematical operation only. Row 1 gets paired with every row of the second table. That is all. So here the column name, columns data type is immaterial. Supposing if the order of the first table is 3 by 3, and if the order of the second table is also 3 by 3, the number of 3 rows and 3 columns and 3 rows and 3 columns. So therefore, the number of columns in the Cartesian product table will be 6 columns. Table 1, 3 columns, table 2, 3 columns. And if there are 3 rows in each of this table, you will be having 6 rows altogether. So this one thing that we need to take care. So this again is very commonly made mistake. So this we have to inform students. So now I have encircled here, the common columns do appear in the output. That is all with Cartesian product. So can we move on to the next one, natural join? So natural join, yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Continue.
Natural join, if you look at the natural join, it is similar to our Cartesian product only. Select column list or star. If you want to mention specific columns, you put the column name. Otherwise, select star to include all the columns. So select column list from table 1. There in Cartesian product, we put from table 1, comma table 2. But in natural join, we have to mention the keyword natural join. That way, it differs from a Cartesian product. It differs. So a natural join is differing from the Cartesian product by using the keyword natural join table name. So what is the similarity we have between these two syntaxes? The similarity is the earlier version, both the commands cross join and natural join will not have any conditions. There is no condition imposed here on the query. So we are just going to join both the tables. That's all we are going to do. So if you look at the tables, table 1 and table 2, you have ID, description 1 and description 2 to be the column names of the first table. Second table is having ID, description 3 and description 4. Now here, if you notice, ID column is found to be common in both the tables. Okay, the difference in the output is what happens since here we are not mentioning the where condition. MySQL will automatically include its default condition to match the rows of the tables. So here the user is not going to explicitly define the condition, but natural join, MySQL will automatically create its own condition and it frames its condition in such a way that only the matching criteria or the matching rows will be selected for the output. So what it means, the matching rows will be based on its common column. So I have the common column name to be ID. So the two tables matching column is, the name of the column is ID. Therefore, automatically MySQL will do a matching with the corresponding columns and you will not get 6 columns and 6 rows. In this case, 100 and 100. And do we have 100 in the second table? No. So the matching row is not identified. 101 if you take from the second row. Do we have 101 in the second table? Yes. Therefore, 101 is selected for the output. ID is 101, description 1, description 2. Again, ID is included, description 3 and description 4. So here too, the repeated column will be definitely appearing. Okay, but not all the rows. All the columns are included, but the rows are restricted here. In natural join, rows are restricted. In Cartesian product, no restrictions. It is simply pairing of every row with every other row of the second table. But here, only the matching row will be displayed. How this matching is identified? An implicit where condition is being created or used by the natural join by the MySQL engine. Okay, so this matching row is done based on the common column. Now here I have a query. Say now, I have the data as 100, 101, 102 and 101, 103 and 105. But the name of the column is different. Say ID1 and ID2. Then how does it function? So the data type of the matching column. So I have a common column ID. Okay, but the common column is matching in its data type, but not in its column name. Do you understand that situation? Yes, am I making it clear? So when the column name is not matching, but matching with the data type, this natural join will not function in that case. So my natural join will implicitly create a condition. For that to happen, necessarily the tables must have a common column. When I say a common column by the name of the column and also by its data type. Okay. Otherwise, natural join will not give you this kind of result. Then it becomes a normal Cartesian product if the columns doesn't match. If the column doesn't match, it is going to lead us to a Cartesian product. Not Cartesian product, you will not get any output. You will get an empty set. you will get an empty set. Supposing I have ID1 and ID2, there is no common column here. Therefore, the output returned by this query is going to be an empty set. Am I making it clear, teachers? You want some time to assess this?
It's clear, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, sir. So moving on to equijoin. Equijoin, we all know about this because we generally use it using a where condition. So the syntax of this is going to be select column list from table 1 comma table 2, where table 1 dot table common column is equal to table 2 dot common column. This is the general syntax. So here the same output we can get. So the same natural join query, how do we convert it to equijoin? Select column list from table 1 comma table 2, where table 1 dot id is equal to table 2 dot id. You will get the same output as seen here. So still we will be able to get the output of this natural join through equijoin, because in equijoin we explicitly define the condition. That is the only difference. And what is the advantage of using equijoin? We don't have to depend only on this column, common column. So wherever you want, supposing there are two common columns. Okay, so I would like to get the data from using the second column. That is possible here. Explicitly condition can be set to obtain the corresponding rows. Okay, so equijoin is explicitly defining the condition. So the general syntax is select column list from table 1 comma table 2 where condition. The second syntax is, this is again a rare usage only. We will just tell the students to also make a note of this for equijoin, but they will not use this for the board exam. In case if the question paper gives any query like this, then children will be knowing that it is a this is another syntax of equijoin. So select column list from table 1, join table 2 on. So here we use join keyword and on keyword to represent the same equijoin condition. So this is the second syntax. So the working is going to be the same. So here it always performs only equal to operation between the common columns. Okay. So any doubts or anything else that you want to, I don't want to go to the complete details of SQL, as we all will be knowing about it. So the general areas where we tend to miss, where in the board exam also, most of the mistakes will occur. So such areas alone is captured here. So if in addition, if you want to if you want me to visit on anything else or to touch upon any other points, please let me know. So I'm a little slow or a little fast. So please, all the feedbacks, please, I'm open to all the feedbacks. So ultimately, it should be we should be able to reach our students correctly. And this is a very important area because 18 marks from this will be tested. So more weightage for this term from this particular concept. So I'll be sharing this document in the WhatsApp group also. So we can make use of this. And I have just created one small assignment for us to just check. So now this assignment also will be shared in the group, which is for about only 10 marks. So probably tomorrow we can just visit on these answers. We can just exchange the answers here in the group itself, so that we can cross-check whether our understanding is clear, and wherever some clarifications needed can again be further discussed. So now this is this particular assignment is having roughly about 6 questions. 6 questions. So it is just not for assessment and all, but anyway, I have just given the weightage of that. So if we can get the answers, It's well and good, and we will be discussing those answers tomorrow. One of you can take it up actually. So one of you can take it up so that it should be like more of you speaking in the session. So that wherever some best practices are followed, we will take it. Wherever some improvements need to be done, we will also take it from others. So let's keep our mind very open. So always, as teachers, we should keep constantly learning from each other. If I find some good practices in you, okay, I can also I will also feel very happy to learn from you. And even I joined the school with nil school experience. So in 2006, when I joined here, I was, among DAB group of schools, I was the junior most without any school experience. I was not even knowing about what we used to have conduct practical exams and all. So in practical examinations, that award, we used to have hard copy of the award list those days. Now it is all done through online itself. So I was not even aware of what an award list is. So I was that very and not knowing any of the CPSC's system. So it just comes only by experience. Okay. So even I have been as a college professor also. So I was there as a college faculty lecturer in 2 years. I worked as a lecturer also, and I was there in the private institute. So I was not having school experience. So it is like that only. So it is just to learn from each other and feel free to express your views. And I want you to come up with all these discussions when we are going to discuss the answers for these questions tomorrow. So anything else that you want to take the clarification, please let me know. I'll be sharing this.
Ma'am.
Yes, sir.
WhatsApp group already created, ma'am.
Sir, we have sent an invite to you, sir, but you have not accepted the invite. Only then you'll be able to get into the group.
Okay, ma'am.
How did you join, sir? How did you join the meeting, sir?
Ma'am, already yesterday registered, ma'am, this meeting using the Gmail only get notification.
Okay. So I have you have shared 2 numbers. So to both the numbers, I have sent the invite, sir. So you just have to accept the invite to come to the group.
Okay, ma'am.
So once after you have joined, I will be sharing the materials.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Then one more doubt, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
That out of 20 marks, 18 you told, no, ma'am, this database concept plus MySQL.
Yes, sir.
Then 2 marks for that connectivity, no, ma'am.
Okay, now the 2 marks for connectivity.
There is a sample paper they given 2 mark, ma'am. But same 2 mark we can expect, or 3 mark also possible, ma'am.
No, only 2 marks, because in many sample papers they have given only 2 marks, and we always go with the sample paper pattern only, provided by CBSE. So it is only for 2 marks.
Okay. In that program also you need to twitch, or only that some methods alone, ma'am? The 2 mark.
We can train them for fill-ups, sir, actually.
Okay, ma'am.
We can train them for fill-ups, but it is always better to, if they are able to write programs, because it's anyway going to be a standard program only.
Okay, ma'am.
So if you are going to train them for the standard program, automatically fill in the blanks. If they also have some HOTS tested in it, children will be able to answer.
Because last time they given MySQL connected as the lab program, ma'am. That's why they are not giving more important. But this way they added SQL comments only in the practical. That's why I'm worrying, ma'am, whether they will ask any program in that.
Definitely it is included, sir, because our project is also what we insist our students is, I generally tell my students to use database connectivity for their project instead of files.
Yes, ma'am.
Instead of files. So because in real time, only this database connection with the programming language is being used. So we have to train our students with the real-time application.
Yes, ma'am.
So even Python Pro, even your record also should include at least one practical program.
2 we completed. Yes, ma'am.
So that will cover all the insert query, update query. We can make them do as a menu-driven code. Menu-driven code la ஒரு code வந்து insert operation, to test their insert operation, to test update operation, so delete operation, create, alter, so and select. So 6 queries, we can give them a model. So if we are going to cover all the concepts that we are teaching in the form of a record, they will be comfortable with their concept.
Okay.
So our record is very important because children, when you say repeatedly that you practice and come, they may not do. So it is very challenging for us to bring the attention. And especially class 11th is going to be a biggest challenge for all of us because they are totally raw to computer science. They would have learned only Microsoft Word or Excel or so some packages like that in the lower classes. And in most of the schools, computer science is not the main subject. So only when they take this as a elective, they will start giving importance. And we can tell them to pair in groups to work together for the programs. And that logic building is very, very, it is the greatest challenge that we have to face in class 11. Class 11, I would say that it is equivalent to our LKG. Like how LKG teachers will find it difficult to handle the students, that way, class 11th, we will find it very, very challenging to make them think and do the program. And make them understand the usage of if condition, make them to understand the usage of loops, and when to use single loop, when to use nested loop, how it functions. So if you're going to make this very clear to them, then it becomes, they will also start appreciating the subject because this is the only subject which will make them think like maths. Of course, I would say maths is also equally interesting. So children will love to do computer science. So when we create that, passion for the subject, automatically we need not say that you always practice and come. We just have to give them daily questions, like how in mathematics they give daily sums to practice. We have to give them daily some programs. Make it a point that we end the session by giving some programs. That only will create a good logic in them. So once that logical skill, if you are able to set in class 11, class 12 is much of concepts only. And the same class 11th portions, we will be looking at tomorrow in what way, in which are all the different methods we can test the same concept. Stack is only one concept. So tomorrow, the next 2 days is going to be on stacks. So stack is a single concept, and that concept is going to work on last in first out. We all know that. But the same concept can be tested in different ways. So how different ways we can make them think. So that mind should be tuned for thinking. That comes only by constant practice. So we have to give them a lot of programs to make them think and do the programs, and we have to discuss those answers also in the class. And let us also appreciate different logics. We have to listen more from the students. So you can make them to come near the board to write the program, because in Python we have very less concepts only. We will be having enough time to complete and focus on logic construct. So tell them to come near the board, do the program. So we don't have to definitely depend on the system. Last 2 years, we have been used to demonstrating the concept in the system, but we should use Blackboard to teach the programs. Let us teach them on how to dry run the program. Say, okay, there is a program, how to dry run it. So when we are going to do this as an exercise for first few days, automatically children will be interested towards the subject, and they will definitely work on the program, and they will ask for the programs from us. So we have to push them to that stage. So let us give them more practice on programs. Now these concepts like SQL and all, it is theory only. So we just have to tell them what is what, and these are the areas that you will miss, and please take extra care. So all those things can be an input. So nothing much to practice. We have to discuss on several tables, like how different test cases can be taken for candidate keys, and how the questions will be tested. Generally, the questions will be tested like this. I have given that in the all possible way of asking. In the sample paper is given here in the assignment also. So here, if you look at, we have okay, so we have theories like relation, composite, and all. They have to go to the textbook only. Cartesian product, understanding and reading. Coming to the output questions, these queries, we are going to teach them the syntax, and if the concept is correctly understood, they will be easily predicting the output question. This is each output question is for half a mark. So this is again a 2-mark question, which is a board pattern question. Then again a theory. Now this is a query. So query for the above table. So here again, some tables are given to them, and this is another pattern. So we have output queries are given, and children will be asked to write the output. That is one pattern. Second pattern is pure theory. Third one is some tables are given, and children will be asked to find out the cardinality, degree of the tables, and we can make it complex as instead of asking, instead of, now this is how I said, no, the question paper can be made little challenging. So we have to ensure that every question is making them to think. So how do we proceed? If you look at the board paper, they may give you in some sample papers I have seen, they would have given only one table. Okay, that one table, students will be asked to write the degree of the table. From that one table, they will be asked to find out the cardinality of the table. Instead, what we can do, we can club some 2-3 concepts together and test them in a single question. So what is very important in this testing method is, by framing one question, we have to make them recall multiple concepts. So often if they are going to recall, naturally they will not miss out on the concepts. Say for example, I want them to, the question paper pattern is to test the degree and cardinality of the tables. So how better, no, how can you modify that particular question? I can have multiple tables. In that multiple tables, like say find the degree of the, instead of giving find the degree of student, I can give find the degree of student cross project assigned. Now here, if you look at this portion of the question, they know what a degree means. So what is a degree? Number of, what is the degree? Number of
attributes.
Number of columns or number of attributes. So instead of having, instead of making them to find the number of attributes in one table, we can have student cross project assigned. So now here, the child should understand first that student cross project assigned is a Cartesian product operation. So they should understand this. Then they should also know the working of that operation. Only when they are thorough with these two, they have to first understand and understand that it is a Cartesian product. Then they should know the working of it. Then only they can arrive at the degree. So we are making them to think a lot instead of directly giving the question. Make them think like this. So this assignment is just not for solving for us. It is not like that. How do we frame the question? So this is just a way of framing the question. Now this is for half a mark. And also mention the type of the SQL operation depicted by this particular thing is Cartesian product. So how can we have the marking scheme defined here? The first half of the question is half a mark. The second half of the question is another half a mark. So let us give them more load through the question so that they will be used to quick thinking and quick writing, and they will definitely find the paper to be very, very comfortable when they come to the board exam. So this kind of training, when we are going to give at the school level, definitely I'm sure that at school they may miss their marks greatly. Let them miss, that's okay. It is a learning phase for them. But in the board exam, I'm sure that your average is going to be the topmost among all the other subjects. So this is out of experience. I'm sharing my experience to you. The same way, identify the alternate keys. When we say identify the primary key, 100% of the class or 99% of the class will be directly, very easily they will identify the alternate key, primary key. But instead of directly asking primary key, we can ask them the alternate key. So how do they write correct answer for the alternate key? Only when they know a candidate key, only when they know a primary key. So indirectly, though they are going to write answer for alternate key, only after understanding what a primary key is, after identifying the primary key, they can come to the answer for alternate key. This way, indirectly, we are testing two concepts. So this is how, this is again another way of testing. So we all know the concept. I know the concept, you know the concept, everybody knows the concept. Okay, here and there could be some missing areas. So that comes by experience. So what is very important in all of us is to bring in the system of setting a high order thinking questions. Let every question in computer science be a high order question. Only then the child will be forced to learn the subject. This is happening even in city schools. My students, they generally say, ma'am, So because children do join us only in 11th standard from other schools. Some children will be DAV children itself. 10th, no, they would have completed their 10th in DAV, and then they'll be joining us. And we will also be getting some outside schools. I think this is the same with other schools also. We will be getting students from other schools for 11th standard. When they come from other schools, those children, they will be having a link with their own friends in the other schools, studying in the other schools. They will come back to us and say that, ma'am, my friend is not spending this much time, or they are not doing this kind of project in their school. And when I give this question paper to them, they are finding it difficult to answer. But whereas I am able to see where I am able to answer to all these questions. So and they will also come back to us and say that when I am able to solve their paper, but they are not able to solve our paper. So this is the kind of difference. Children are comparing. Children will be comparing, and they will be assessing us. Every student will evaluate us. Like how we say that this child is good in logic, this child needs some improvement. That way, student is also assessing us. So that we need to be very careful. And when we are able to, have concepts in our paper, have concepts in our teaching, definitely they will listen to whatever we speak. They will definitely listen to whatever we speak. They will come behind us. So it becomes easy for us to control the class. The same way here again, alternate keys and foreign keys of the tables with proper justification. So let us also, in board pattern, they will not say, no, this is a board pattern question, but we are introducing our own difficulty level here. We are introducing our difficulty level to the students. So with the proper justification, let us train students with the proper justification. Otherwise, it becomes easy. They are very smart. They will easily copy and get the answer done. They are very smart. So we are going to make them explain, how did you arrive at this particular concept? How do you say that this key is said to be an alternate key? This key is said to be a foreign key. You ask for the explanation. The kind of explanation they give, it will make us understand whether they have really understood the concept or not. So that is what we have to do here. The same way, identify the candidate keys and primary keys of the table. Primary key they will do, but candidate key. Here they will make mistake. So these things that we need to train them. So the same pattern only I have captured as an assignment also here. So when you go through it, when you solve it, you will also know where exactly your children also will make mistake. And these are board pattern questions.